Hi guys, it's Wojtek from stereosound.pl. Today I'm gonna show you how to use Roland Juno to synthesizer within the DAW environment. There are a few ways that you can use that instrument and all the analog instrument synthesizers within your DAWs. Obviously the most common thing to do is just to get a proper MIDI controller and nice audio cables, connect it all through your audio card, and then you can just record it straight away in almost every DAW that is on the planet. But in the case of Roland Juno 2, the only downside of doing that is that the access to all the parameters for those who already know this synthesizer is via the menu. So the thing is that you can get access to few parameters at once, like in the case of older Roland Juno synthesizers, for example 60 or 106, and that they had a big front panel with all the pots, all the controls, so you could easily modulate few parameters at once. But within actually Roland Juno 2 synthesizer, you have to do it the other way around. So you can do it within that menu, but it will take some time to shape the sound. So what are the other ways that we can suggest? The other way, the most expensive way, is that in the 80s Roland built also a programmer. It's called PG300, but they are really rare nowadays. You can still get them on auction websites, but the price has rocketed in recent years. So as long as you can afford it, then it's fine. You can get it. It's really cool. It's built for this synthesizer and all the synthesizers, Roland Juno synthesizers from the same era specifically. So it's cool to have that device. But if you can afford it, then the other option I can suggest is to get a proper MIDI controller, like the ones that are built by Behringer. So then you can program all the parameters on this one big MIDI controller, and then you can just set it up this way. But for me, the cheapest free option is just to get a nice little plugin that you can load within your DAW environment. The only downside of this plugin at the moment is that it's only a 32-bit version. So if you are using a DAW that it's 64-bit, and in the case if it hasn't got a bridge, then you have to do it via a program which is called JBridge. You can get that for around 15 euros on the developer website. Make sure to check demo first, because some of those 32-bit plugins, they are still not working properly within that JBridge little program. So the best way is just to check demo first, try to connect your 32-bit plugin within 64-bit environment, and then if it's working, then you can obviously pay for that little program, and then you're gonna have access to all the 32-bit programs within your 64 DAW. For example, that's the case in Ableton Live. And I'm also using Logic Pro 9 that's got 32-bit bridge built in, so that's not a problem in that case. But in an instance of Ableton Live or Studio One, for example, in case if you want to use 32-bit plugins, you have to buy a program which is called JBridge. Okay, so that's basically it for introduction, and let's have a look where we can get this little plugin. Like I said before, it's free, so it doesn't cost you anything. Okay, let's have a look on the website. So that's the link to the website that you can get this program from. Okay, so you can download the latest version, and then the other thing you have to do is first you load the program. I'm gonna show you how to do it. To configure that synthesizer correctly inside the Ableton Live, you have to use one instance of MIDI track and one instance of audio track. That's the only way it's gonna work properly. And then you're gonna load this VST plugin on the MIDI track. And one thing you can notice straight away that this panel is empty. What it means? It means that this is a modular environment, so you can build your own panels for any device that's been built by the companies. So yeah, you can either build a MIDI controller within that environment by yourself, or you can download already built panels for free from the same website. So let's have a look where we can get this from. Okay, let's have a look on downloads. I've been here before. The right menu is panels, obviously. And then you just go for old panels list. It's gonna be the quickest way to find the right one. And the right one to choose in case if you want to use a Roland Juno 2 synthesizer in your DAW is PG300. That's the one. I already downloaded it. I've been using it properly. Okay, so we've got the plugin. The panel is empty at the minute, but first of all we're gonna load this panel into this little program. Okay. Okay, desktop. That's my directory. Okay, and it's called PG300. Okay, so that's the whole panel. It looks the same like this original one, PG300. All the controls or the parameters are exactly the same. So if you don't mind using this MIDI controller within your DAW, I mean, the worst bit of it, if you used to just touching the synthesizer using all the controls by yourself, hands-on control. If you're okay with clicking instead, then that's the cheap and really good option to have a quick access to all the parameters at once. Okay, but first things first is that you have to configure it properly at the beginning. So make sure that your MIDI device is connected properly into your computer, into your sound card. If that's the case, and also obviously audio cables are connected to the right inputs. Okay, if that's the case, then we will go first to the MIDI device settings, and then we'll pick up a right device, MIDI device. In my case, it's a UM1, which is made by Edirol. I'm gonna use it for MIDI input and for MIDI output. Okay, and that's basically it in that menu. And the other thing you have to do, you have to reconfigure that panel a little bit. So you click on that pencil, I guess, and then all you have to do within that environment is just to pick up the right MIDI device again. So I'm gonna click UM1, panel 1's VST MIDI input. I'm gonna click yes, output device, UM1, and MIDI through. Okay. And then you click that pencil again, and that's it. Basically, it should work now. But the other thing you have to do within your DAW, in that case, like I said before, I'm using Ableton Live. I'm gonna go to audio track. I'm gonna click input output, and I'm gonna pick up the right inputs. So it's external. Okay, in my case, it's 5 and 6, and I'm gonna click Control, and I'm just gonna click arm this track first. Okay, so now I have incoming signal, and I'm gonna switch into auto mode. Okay, and obviously if you wanna use virtual keyboard within Ableton Live, you have to also arm the MIDI track. So if you want to have those two armed at once, you have to click either Control if you're working on Windows system, or Command if you're working on Mac system. Okay, so let's click this button. Alright, let's go to the panel again. So if I've done all the stuff correctly, we should hear some sounds. Let's have a look. Alright, so it's all working fine. What I will do now, I'll just do a quick MIDI loop. Maybe higher pitch. we're gonna use also a midi effects. We're gonna use a short effect. Okay, I'm just gonna do a simple fifth. Let's play. Okay, so now it's time to focus on the sounds of this beast. First of all, I'm gonna show you some basic presets that they are built in that synthesizer. Obviously, you have to realize that this instrument was built in the 80s, so most of the sounds, they sound 80ish. Okay, but once you get a hand on this MIDI controller, then you can come out really with a nice textures which sound analog and sound modern. Alright, but let's start with those basics. Okay, I'm gonna play this loop, play this sequence. Okay, and let's go through some basic presets. Okay, so one thing you have to notice is that once you go through those basic presets, simply just start to play with this MIDI controller. With just by using those few of those parameters, we can get those sounds a bit better. I mean, especially those chorus made this sound really fat, nice sounding. Well, obviously on top of the fatness, you can get a nice stereo spread, so it's cool. And then you just modulate the sound by using a filter. You can obviously add a little extra texture, a little layer by using a sub. Okay, and let's go through the other basic sounds that are built in, and then later on we're gonna find something nice, and we'll just start to play with the modulation. Okay. Okay, so you probably noticed that most of those sounds of those basic presets are pretty boring and useless for today's standards. So what I'll do now, that last sound I played for you, I found it pretty, not exciting, but pretty interesting. So I'll just play with it now. I'll use that MIDI controller. We'll try to modulate stuff to get something nice out of it, and I'll just shut up and you can listen to what this instrument can do with my hands, hopefully. Alright, so let's press play. Okay, so I'll just switch off that sequence for you, and we're gonna try some other sounds now. Okay, so let's have a look. This is just a basic analog synthesizer, so it's most of the stuff that you can get out of from it is subtractive synthesis, but you can also do some kind of FM synthesis by using high rate within the LFO parameter. So let's have a look what we can come out with. Okay, and let's play with envelope instead of alpha modulation. Okay, I think that should be enough for you to judge either you wanna get this in, or if you have it, try to get it configured properly with that program within your DAW, and then you can focus on creating weird sounds of it, or the sounds that do sound a bit modern. You can still get really nice shapes, especially for house, techno music, and for electronic stuff. You can then resample within the DAW like Ableton and really add some nice flavor on top of the VST plugins, especially on top of the just the ordinary synthesizers. It makes music much more compelling if you use instead of VST, if you use analog sound. It's really nice for bass stuff as well. I haven't showed you what I can do with this to make a really nice growling basses, but well, I can assure you that it's working fine for bass stuff as well. But I really dig it for nice textures, for nice pads, and for chords, house chords, techno chords you can do in few seconds with it. So for all the folks that really are into this genre of music, then I strongly recommend considering getting this synth instead of plugins. Right, so that's pretty much it. Hope you like it, and I'll see you someday for more. Bye bye.